Welcome back, ENT 110 students here at EC3PA. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. Hopefully all of the Blackboard glitches are now behind us. I know a few of you had some struggles, and hopefully you have moved past those, right? And you're able to get into your Blackboard. Now, as we move forward, we could have more glitches, so just keep me posted. Our IT is also kind of working to keep us posted when there are issues. For this course, when you look at PowerPoints, which are a summary of the chapter, you're going to click on them and download them. It seems to be the best way to access those. If you have some issues with that, though, please let me know. I just want to make sure you can access everything on Blackboard. And so, looking at this week, so we are starting off week 3. Week 3 then brings us to the items, other than the discussion, will be due next Monday, 9/12 by 11:59 p.m. Okay, so for this week, we're looking at 2 chapters. Chapter 6, Problem Solving and Needs Recognition Techniques, and also Chapter 7, Telling Your Entrepreneurial Story and Pitching Your Idea. So in this week, I also have a couple of videos for you. So I'm going to go over each of the chapters briefly, talk about the homework assignments, talk about the discussion, and so that's what we're looking at. So for chapter, I have 2 links for us there. When you click on week 3, you will see 2 links. First one is what's the best way to find a business idea. So some of you that are still thinking about an idea that you might have, right, or an idea that you are generating, this week's discussion may help with that, right? Thinking about what local entrepreneurs are doing and maybe finding that niche that you could have the next great idea, whether it's something local or it's something on a global, something on the internet or something that you might, what kind of need are you going to fulfill, right? What opportunity are you taking advantage of? All right, or seizing. So what's the best way to find a business idea? So that link I think you will find very informative. And then from chapter 7, moving a little bit further, chapter 7 begins talking about your mission and your vision statement. Like, what's your driving force of your product or your idea? So there's 2 videos there for you. Now, chapter 6, when we look at chapter 6, there are a couple components to chapter 6. And the first component, 6.1, problem solving to find entrepreneurial solutions. So problem solving involves more than just making decisions. It's like a component that really is how we find or start our entrepreneurial journey, right? We're going to try and address everyday situations, right? What's the need? What are we lacking? Or what is our community lacking? And how can we fill that need? And so when you're thinking about something that you might want to do, think about some of your own strengths and weaknesses, and particularly your own personal strengths, and think about how you go about your own problem solving. What are your own problem solving techniques? So use those same problem solving techniques to think about a need and then figure out, okay, how could we, solve the problem? How could we fill this need? And how could we do it successfully? So thinking about that, and so that is our first section there, problem solving to find entrepreneurial solutions. And in that first section, it talks about different types of problem solvers. So see which one you might be, right? And then you can kind of use that as a framework as to how you might go about looking for an entrepreneurial opportunity, if you haven't already kind of stumbled upon one, right? Or created one. All right, so that's the first part of chapter 6. The second part, the creative problem solving process. And it goes into what would be your logical steps, right, in the creative problem solving process. And so some of the steps that the text talks about and that I find particularly invigorating are: we need to clarify what we're looking at, ideate, develop, implement, and evaluate, right? So along that whole process, when we're thinking about the problem solving, right, we come up with, okay, let's figure out exactly what the problem is, and then how are we going to attack that problem, right? Let's develop a plan, and then we're going to actually execute the plan, And then once we've executed, how well did we succeed, right? And so that's really our problem solving process. 6.3 is design thinking, and there are a few examples in there about how you might go about designing, and some different stages of design thinking. There's a few models that they give you in there. You don't have to, fully understand all of them, like all of them. Find different models that work for you. So when you're looking at this text and there's a lot of pages and you're doing a lot of reading, really hone in on the things that you identify with, right? Naturally. And so as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be doing things that are outside of really your wheelhouse. You're going to want to follow your own problem solving techniques and find, models that kind of fit you. You want to, obviously challenge yourself, but you want to find things that kind of come naturally to you, right? And so in that design thinking chapter section of the chapter, kind of see what you align with. And then in the last section, this idea of lean processes, really thinking about or, maximizing efficiency, right? And figuring out how can I take my idea and how can I get the most bang for the buck, right? So that last section, lean processes, is pretty interesting and talks a little bit about how you might go about being more efficient, right, as you're generating your idea, but also as you're executing your idea. All right, and then I have in the homework questions, chapter 6 and 7, I have a few questions there for you relating to chapter 6. So then looking at chapter 7 this week, chapter 7, telling your entrepreneurial story and pitching your idea, there are several sections in this chapter. The first one, clarifying your vision, mission, and goals. And so as you're thinking about an idea, right, maybe you haven't honed in on something, so, you're just going to be thinking about it. Maybe an industry, right, or an area that you have interest in, whether it's technology or it's maybe something related to food and beverage, whatever it might be. Whole host of different things you could do, a service industry, something that might be interesting to you, or something that you're already working on, or maybe it's a business you already have and you want to expand into other areas, or expand your product line or your service line. And so chapter 7, clarifying your mission, vision, and goals, again, going back to there's a short video there about creating mission and creating a vision statement. So make sure that you're watching both of those video links for this week. The second part, sharing your entrepreneurial story and, thinking about your own, how did you come upon whatever your idea is going to be? Is it because of something in the workplace, something maybe that you need, you notice that friends need, that families need, or your family members need? What is how did you get to your idea, really? And so making sure that you're thinking about that and you're sharing that. And that helps you really kind of communicate and think about and then communicate, what's the reasoning behind your product or service. 7.3, developing pitches for various audiences and goals. So thinking about, if you have an idea, how are you going to pitch that idea? You're going to need money for to take off, right? To get your entrepreneurial idea to take off. And so, you might be telling family and friends, and so you have a short speech. You might have a longer pitch that you would send to a bank or possible investor, right? And so thinking just about different audiences and some of the goals that you might have in that pitch. 7.4, protecting your idea and polishing the pitch through feedback. So one of the things in this section, 7.4, starts to talk about patents and things like that. If you have a specific product that, really, if you want to make money on that product and have it take off, you need to patent it, right? Because if you come up with an idea, and some of you may have had this, you had an idea and then you told somebody and they ran with the idea, and guess what? They made a bunch of money off your idea, right? So patents help with that. But this idea of polishing your pitch is what is important as well. So if you have an idea, send it out there to friends, send it out there to family members, send it out there to coworkers, and they will give you feedback, right? And use that real-time feedback, market feedback, if you will, to really hone what you're thinking about and your product and, how you are promoting your product. All right. So, and then the last part, 7.5, thinking about there are opportunities to win money, right? Or win things We don't have one going on here on campus, but it's a great idea for upcoming semesters that we could have, maybe through the SGA, we could do something where people pitch their ideas and then we vote on them, and the best idea, kind of like Shark Tank, right? The best idea wins, and maybe they can win a small grant, a couple $100 grant, $500 grant, whatever it might be, some sort of little monetary prize. But we do have those around the county and around the state, and even across the country, where you can submit ideas, submit your pitch, and you can win items, right? Win money, things like that. All right, so that's chapter 7, telling your entrepreneurial story and pitching the idea. So for this week, you're going to watch your you're going to watch the videos. You're going to, you're going to read the chapters 6 and 7 first, watch the 2 videos, review the chapters by reviewing the PowerPoints for chapter 6 and 7, complete the homework. It is a Word doc, so you can just write right on there. And again, this class is an exercise, right? Not only are we learning some key models and some key techniques, but when you're doing the homework assignments, think about, not only are they going to help you in the exams, but think about, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you are thinking about how you might make products better, how you might come up with new ideas, the more effort you put into this homework assignments, they're really exercises for you as an entrepreneur to develop and hone your skills. All right, so the homework assignment, that will be due next Monday. So that's 9/12 by 11:59 p.m. Now, the discussion section for this week. The discussion section, it's a 2-part discussion. And the discussion, actually, I'm giving you 2 weeks to do the discussion because it's a little bit more lengthy, right? And so I want to make sure that, so at the very latest, it'll be due at the end of week 4, which is September 19th. So not this Monday, but the following Monday. But the sooner you get it in, sooner you get it done, the better. But some of you, I know in past semesters, I've had students that have had difficulty getting through this discussion. And I'll tell you here, you'll see when I explain it, right? So when you go in and you click on discussion 2, and the discussion topic for this week, as students, you can apply your interest in entrepreneurship by speaking with local entrepreneurs. So your goal is to go out is to find a local entrepreneur, right? It could be someone that you work with, a friend, a family member. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone from Erie County. I've had in the past, someone has a friend or family member that lives in another city. Fine. As long as you can get in contact with them. So you can see why this is a 2-week discussion, because you need to be able to get in contact with someone, and then you need to ask them some questions. So for this discussion, you're going to contact them. You can either contact them via phone, give them a phone call, and do a short interview. You can email them some questions and have them email the responses back. You could do a Zoom, right? So you do like an interview with them via Zoom, or you can meet with them in person, right? Casually, formally, whatever you like. And an entrepreneur in an industry or business that interests you, right? So think about, you could even ask a few questions too. If there's a local, maybe you go over to that new flagship eatery. Maybe there's a business there that you really like and it seems to be doing well. You could say, oh, who's your owner? I'd like to talk to them a little bit about, how this came to be, right? Or how your business came to be. So you'll see there are several topics. So when you click on the discussion, you'll see there are several topics. I have letters A through I. Some of these you're going to know just because, so for example, if you were picking someone from the flagship eatery, you're going to already know the company name, right? So if you can get the entrepreneur, letter A is get the entrepreneur's name and their company name. So whatever the company is, and then if they'll give you their name, right? You're not going to get all of these. They're kind of just a framework, and try to get as much as you can. The second part, letter B, see if you can get any type of background on the entrepreneur. Do they start other businesses? Is this something is the business they're in something that they've been familiar with for a long time, right? And then C, how'd you find the person, or how did you choose him? D, why is this person an entrepreneur? You might want to ask them that. So some of these are kind of your take on the situation. Other ones are actual questions that you can ask, your interviewee. And so you can ask them like why they are an entrepreneur. Like what was the reason they went into, starting up their own business? And you might know that though already. So you might be able to chime in. So it's kind of like some of you reflecting, but also some actual real-time responses from an entrepreneur. Letter E, what influenced the entrepreneur? to identify and pursue this opportunity or the opportunity that they're involved in. So if it's an eatery over at the flagship center, you may ask them, like, why are you interested in, ramen? I know there's a ramen place in there, right? Why did you think this would take off? And, did you see, how did you come about this opportunity? And in their case, they might respond that there isn't really a ramen place or very many ramen places in Erie, and it's a pretty popular food sector in larger cities. So something like that, if that makes sense for letter E. F, how did the entrepreneur's background, family history, prior education, work experience affect the opportunity discovered, right? So maybe, for example, I'll pick on the ramen place again. Maybe they were already in the food industry, or maybe the entrepreneur came from a bigger city where there was a lot of ramen places, right? So what's the background of this entrepreneur, and how does it, affect where they're at now? And G, what did the entrepreneur do to turn the opportunity into a business? So when you're asking your person, right, how did you basically get off the ground? You saw an opportunity, and then how did you, conceptualize things and then come up with a way and then actually execute the way into a business, right? So that would be letter G. Letter H, what major problems? You ask them if they had any problems that they encountered. They'll tell you about a few problems. Maybe if they can even just tell you one thing that they found problematic along their entrepreneurial journey, from when they had an idea to actually bring it to market. And last, this might be what you would chime in on, but you can ask them as well. Why is this entrepreneur that you're interviewing, why are they successful, right? So versus maybe the 100 other people that had an idea and just couldn't get it off the ground. So why is the person you're talking to, why do you think they're successful? And you may ask them, why do they think themselves, why are they successful, right? So that is your discussion for this is discussion 2. And so you're not going to you can either use the bullet points that I've listed when you look at the discussion, or you can write up a little, like a blurb, 3 or 4 sentences. And so this is part 1 of a 2-part series. So you'll have 2 weeks to work on this first part. So make sure you find somebody as soon as possible, because sometimes there can be a little bit of a lag time setting up an interview of sorts, whether you do it just even via email if they're not able to talk either face-to-face or via phone or via Zoom. The second part of this discussion, which is going to be due, several weeks out, is going to involve, you're going to look at other folks in our class, right, from a discussion standpoint, and come up with a response to, look at and read about their entrepreneur that they chose, and then comment on that. So that's going to be the second part of this discussion. But for this, actually due in 2 weeks on the 19th, is you're going to find someone and you're going to ask them some questions, right? If you have difficulty with this, please reach out to me. Try and find someone. Don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. It doesn't have to be like the end-all, be-all, opportunity or entrepreneur, some giant entrepreneur. It can be something small, something local. It can be a local dry cleaner, whatever it might be. So questions on that. So that is what I have for this week, and that is open and running. So when you view this video, you will then, and a copy of the video is also in Blackboard if you need to review it. So again, chapters 6 and 7 due for this week. I did give you a little bit of extra time to finish up last week's items. If you have any issues, please let me know on Blackboard or with your email. I guess if you're getting this, you won't be having trouble with your email, but as always, you have my phone, 814-490-6473. You can text me on there. I typically don't answer because I'm doing different things sometimes where I don't have my phone. I can't answer, right? And or always send me an email, crobertson@ec3pa.org. I'm working to get all of your homework and discussion points graded and in your grade book on Blackboard. I have them in my grade book, and so I'm working on getting your grade book up and running. As I too had some issues with Blackboard last week, I was hit, right? So look for that hopefully by this evening. If not, by midday tomorrow, I should have that grade book updated. So just be patient, right? If you've handed in your homework and you think you did a pretty good job, right? I'm not super strict because you get out of your homework what you put into it, right? And so it's really, as long as you're getting it in on time and you're completing it at a minimum, and you get full credit for homework. Same with discussion posts, but you have to do them to get points. If you don't do it, if you don't turn it in, I can't give you any points, right? And so it erodes your grade in the end. So I don't want that to happen. So make sure that if you are missing anything, you get that into me. And I will also send out a friendly reminder of things missing, usually about halfway through the term, so that you can get caught up, at least get some points on the board. All right. Well, have a wonderful afternoon today. It's Tuesday, 9/6, and I will circle back around with you later in the week and make sure everything is going smoothly. Some of you I see on campus. I am on campus on Wednesdays for sure, every day, midday. If you ever would like to meet up on campus. And I'm also available via Zoom, FaceTime, if you need a direct, like one-on-one. And occasionally on campus, other different times. So let me know. Have a great week.